Fnatic recently became the first team in the history of the LCS to have an undefeated 18-0 season. So whenever a team becomes as dominant as Fnatic in any sport, it is due to a number of things coming together at just the right time. For Fnatic, even though they are the defending Spring Split champions, this team is vastly superior to the squad that went 13-5 in the spring. And one thing that's changed more than anything else is their attitude. After their Spring Split championship and their MSI performance where they took SKT to 5 games, Fnatic seemed to morph into a hardened team. In the Spring Split, Fnatic had some of the most enthusiastic celebrations after victory of any team. They were an excitable team that took great joy in victory. And now, it seems to be just raw determination. When they come back from a 5,000 gold deficit and win, they look disappointed in their mistakes. When they win in 35 minutes, they wonder why they couldn't have won in 30. And there is a certain charm in the determination Fnatic has and the drive they have to improve, but I also see their lack of celebration as a slight cause for concern, because small victories need to be celebrated in order to diminish the growing pressure of being undefeated. Aside from their changed attitude, though, this team has overcome a ton of obstacles which they struggled with in the Spring Split. There was an obvious weakness at AD carry in Steelback. He underperformed all spring. He averaged negative 6.5 CS difference at 10 minutes and was even more exposed at MSI. In one game at MSI, he fell behind by 40 CS to deft by the 10-minute mark. And the acquisition of Rekkles may actually be the largest improvement for Fnatic of anything, as he has proven to be better than Steelback in nearly every statistical category. We also need to look at the change of playstyle from Fnatic, because in the spring, Febiven was somewhat of an inconsistent laner. Steelback was also below average, and Huni would make teleports very early in the game, and even though Huni's teleports worked more often than not, when they didn't, it set Fnatic into large holes and threw the whole team into disarray. But this split, Fnatic is much more developed and reliable in their strategies. They play a reserved early game style in the bot and mid lane, and then they support Huni's aggression reliably with pressure from Reignover. To illustrate that, Febiven went even in lane, which means between a 7 CS lead or 7 CS deficit more times than any other EU LCS mid. Rekkles in the bottom lane as well went even or better in 15 of 18 games, but usually even. So those reliable lanes being there, it sets Reignover and Yellowstar and Huni to go to work and grow a slow advantage in the early game. And the mid game is where they've been crushing people with superior team fighting and decision making. Furthermore, even when they do fall behind in the early game, as was seen in matches versus Origin and H2K, they've been able to pull out clutch team fights and end the game shortly after regaining their leads thanks to great shot calling. They are also surprisingly more top lane and jungle focused than any team in Europe. From a gold share perspective, Reignover and Huni rank second for their roles, while Febiven is 9th for mid, and Rekkles is also 9th for AD carry. And one byproduct of having gold distribution like that is that for Fnatic, everyone on the team becomes a threat. Mid lane and AD carry, they're still strong because those are the roles that traditionally demand the most income, and that makes Huni and Reignover much stronger than their opponents due to their increased gold share. Now on to Fnatic's team comps, we need to touch on that, because Fnatic is diverse in the raw number of champions they pick, but all of their comps follow a similar pattern of being a triple threat composition. Huni is on a carry, Reignover is on a tank jungler, and then Febiven and Rekkles are on reliable, safe damage dealers most of the time. Very rarely does Fnatic depart from a 3-carry style. And with that, Fnatic has been good at every composition they've run this split. They're also well coached, well managed, and have one of the most experienced players in the world with Yellowstar at support. All those things, perfect recipe to go 18-0 in a split. They needed those things. And now the question will be whether they can maintain perfection throughout the EU playoffs, as pretty much everyone has written them in as the summer split champions already, which only increases the pressure on the team. So if they were to lose, however unlikely it may be, it would be due to teams preying on Fnatic's tendencies. Teams need to cut into where Fnatic draw their advantages, meaning they would attack Huni and Reignover early, because if Reignover and Huni can't gain an advantage while Fnatic is splitting mid and bot lane by playing conservatively, maybe there's a chance this team falls. Easier said than done, of course. There may also be unexposed holes in Fnatic's champion pools. Huni has played Maokai one time in his LCS career, and it was probably his worst pro game ever. He had a 1 kill, 9 death, 6 assist scoreline, and that was not good for him. Reignover may also have to shift his pool because Elise and Nidalee are so strong in the jungle right now. And while Reignover did play Elise in OGN to some success with 5 wins and 7 losses, that was long ago, and it's unexplored territory for Fnatic as a team. Also, if Reignover is to play Nidalee, it could throw the whole balance of Fnatic's team compositions off, because Reignover would not be on a tank jungler, meaning that Huni would have to play a tank role where he's not as comfortable or successful. At the end of the day, though, Fnatic has overcome larger challenges in the past than the things I just mentioned. Like, for instance, bringing in 4 new players and still winning the spring split. And after an 18-0 regular season, it's expected that Fnatic take the EU crown and auto-qualify for Worlds. And I, for one, can't wait to see it.
And Fnatic will become the first team in LCS history to do it! The perfect split, 18-0!